Oh my God. Surprise.
You already know about. This is the thing. So basically, I write the show in the morning, and I was writing the show this morning, and it just wasn't like speaking to me. And so then I had to pause and listen to my intuition. My intuition was like, just do a whole show about Israel.
Yeah. It's what's on people's minds, considering what yesterday was.
Yes. Can you move your camera just a little to your center? There you go.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yep. What's that fedora for in the back?
Oh man, my friend went to where to go? Bermuda, and it was too big for his head, so he gave it to me.
That was worth asking.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna rock it this fall or not. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so because of course yesterday was October 7th, and you know, there was just stuff that pissed me off, and I know it pissed you off too.
Yes, very much so.
Yes. So first off, I want to, what I realized I want to talk about today is basically how Israel is involved in like a bunch of different things, right? Because I think that it's very contextualized within just like Israel, Palestine. But as we have been watching and talking about, it is very deeply disseminated throughout many things and pushing things forward that people are not associating it with. So I don't know if you saw this, but Stephen Miller was in the middle of talking, and he said the quiet part out loud. And I want us to talk about how this comes back to Israel, because some people would not bring this connection back. I'm going to show you the video.
Okay.
Oh, here he is.
He's so ugly.
Miller just said something so horrifying while on CNN that he literally shocked himself into silence. Watch this.
I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority. Stephen?
Let's run it. Let's run it back.
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority. Stephen?
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
For those of you unfamiliar, plenary authority or plenary power means power that is absolute. It's power that is not subject to any checks or balances at all.
He legit glitched out.
Yeah, I've seen that tactic before. Do you remember when Kamala Harris was asked who the real president of the United States was, Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, and she just
she didn't do that.
Yeah.
No, she didn't do that. She did the opposite. She did it. Well, okay. The time that I'm talking about is when she did that. Is when she was asked that on Charlemagne's show. He had a show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
no, she didn't do that. She did the opposite. She did what the black woman version of that is, which is to do like a I'm your black mama scolding, which Maxine Waters does. And it annoys me because it's a weaponizing of culture to actually platform and protect establishment. But she was like, how dare you?
Well, she did that initially. She acted like she couldn't hear it. And then when Charlemagne was like, oh, they're acting like they can't hear me, she was like, I'm Kamala. But anyway, not to compare the two too closely, but I've just seen that tactic before. Yeah.
So what is the tactic?
The tactic is like, there's like a glitch. There's like a studio problem. Like we've lost feed, you know, like that's what I feel like Stephen Miller said this thing. He like unveiled the grand master plan and then wasn't like audio anymore. And Kamala did the same thing. I'm not saying it's like the same context. I'm saying it's the same tactic, which is to act like the mic doesn't work.
So it's not that he glitched out.
I think he was just like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? You know, but no, I don't know.
That's the host saying that to him.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying like, I think he wanted it to seem like there was like a technical issue so that you don't believe that?
No, I'm just shaking my head. I'm in a constant SMH, so you should know that. Like that's just my personality at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really terrifying, and that's something that I think we knew implicitly already, but it's just crazy to see him say it. you know?
Well, Title 10 of the U.S. Code, for those who don't know, is known as the Armed Forces and provides the legal basis for the roles, missions, and organization of the United States Army. But that is not true. Like, the president is not supposed to have plenary control over the armed forces.
Right.
So what is he?
So I think basically they're trying to get us ready for, you know, the Insurrection Act, martial law. We were talking about this the other day. All of these are just like little experiments being done, like escalating. And then it seems like they're trying to intentionally push us to react to them in a way that allows them to use like all out authority. The problem is, and I always mention this, these are freaking 19 and 20-year-olds that grew up playing video games and listening to Charlie Kirk. They're not ready to like go into American cities with like Black Ops gear. You know, I encourage people to not be too scared because these people are, I mean, it's terrifying, but you got to remember they're not sending their best, as Donald Trump would say. Yeah.
But then I think about how connected this is to Israel, right? Like Stephen Miller is a bleeding heart racist and Zionist.
Right.
And I can't help but see how very loudly they are. Like, I believe that Stephen Miller is a sleeper cell for Israel.
Okay. So you're saying like they're doing this like because they used a lot of Palestine action last year under the Biden administration as a pretext for like bringing in, you know, armed troops onto college campuses and stuff like that. So I could totally see using this like anti-Semitic argument to be like, well, we're shutting down free speech and we're going to do it at the end of a gun if you won't do it voluntarily. Yeah.
And I think the overall goal is for Israel to, you know, whether unofficially or officially, like take hold of the United States in a much more real way, right? I think that there's, it's kind of like surreptitious. I think a lot of Americans, especially in government, think that like they're running Israel, but no.
Other way around. It's hilarious because we send them money and then they send that money back in the form of bribes to the politicians that allow them to completely control us. And you'd just be shocked at how much they can't talk about it or they lose their power. And it makes you sound like a conspiracy theorist, but look no further than Barry Weiss, this failed journalist.
Talking about this later in the show.
Like taking over CBS, which it instantaneously loses all credibility. But yeah, it's terrifying because like you rely on the media to accurately report on these incursions into American cities. And it's just terrifying that someone who's like that much of an avowed racist Zionist is going to be the ones like shaping the media narrative over white supremacist violence in the United States. It's like, you don't see how it's...
Well, you know, this clip,
yeah,
when it was posted, so the clip was pulled in real time. When CNN posted the interview later, they pulled this clip.
That's so crazy. CNN is going to be owned by Larry Ellison, who is another like avowed Zionist. This is a guy who's been a billionaire since the 90s. And I don't know if you saw that article in Drop Site News, but he handpicked Marco Rubio for the role of Secretary of State. You know, this like avowed Zionist. So, I mean, I always say this in my videos all the time. Israel will allow the world to be burned before they will fail as a state, right? They don't care. Like they will, like the United States remaining a democracy is like not even in the top 1,000 on the list of priorities for Israel, their citizenry, and their leadership.
And I feel like the best thing that I'm trying to do is just kind of inform people of the reality of this place, because I think for many of us, we didn't have like a real consciousness around Israel beyond it being a country until post October 7th.
Right. I think something that I really recommend people read or even just listen to is the Palestine Laboratory, because Israel's main export, they say it's their technology sector.
This is also being talked about later in the show. You see why I mess with Davidson?
But it's just like, that's a guise for a system of control that they export, because no country gets to treat their local population as poorly as Israel and get away with it and not face like condemnation from the international community and sanctions. They can do whatever they want to Palestinians. They can experiment on them, essentially. And so governments like Singapore, governments like the one in Myanmar are very keen to learn from Israeli advisors, get their technology so that they can repress their population too. I said this in a video yesterday. The chokehold that killed George Floyd was taught by the IDF. That knee
I literally
on the neck,
said that in a church yesterday. So we were on the same vibe.
right? I mean, it's crazy. So like it's a system of violence that they're exporting, and
Say that.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm wondering if people are going to wake up in time to this, and like if it's going to be, because I mean, you did it. You like started speaking out about Palestine, even though you had a lot to lose. But there's like so much complicity.
Yeah, but Davidson, I'm not regular.
I know you're not, but it's like I'm just so discouraged by people not speaking. I mean, like if they can torture Greta, they can torture you.
You know what I think the other thing too, though, is that they really are having a tough time conceptualizing Israel, because, and this is by design, right? There's like, is Israel a country? Is Israel Netanyahu? Is Israel a political thing? Like, I feel like there's been so much kind of confusion, whereas, it was the branding for Nazis, I can't say the actual word because they'll, but the branding for Nazis was very clear, right? Like once they were enemies, it was very clear what they're about. Same with Russia, right? The branding was very clear. This is a country that is harming people and it's harming you. The end. People don't really know, a lot of folks don't really know where to put Israel, as we saw in the messages that people were posting yesterday, October 7th, like Zohar Mamdani, and like people who were centering yesterday around hostages.
I know. Also, like, can we talk about the fact that if you're a soldier invading another country and you get taken, you're a prisoner of war. You're not a hostage. You know what I mean? Like, like one of the people was abducted from their tank, right? That's not like you can't abduct someone from a tank, Like, so it's so disingenuous and framed. But I think the way people should think about Israel is a imperial beachhead. It's a way for there to be a mini America within the Middle East that is like supercharged. I don't know if anybody here listens to Scott Galloway. He has some good points when it comes to wealth inequality, but he's an arch Zionist. And he said the quiet part out loud. He was like, Israel does the dirty work for the U.S. empire, because they don't have to like fly. They don't have to be like celebrated at football stadiums and stuff like that. So they can go in there and like actually kill people with impunity. And without having to, like, not facing any criticism. And the beauty of the last 2 years is that veil has been lifted and people can criticize them and not worry that like they're going to lose their job in the same way or like lose their livelihoods,
Even though they keep trying. I mean, let's listen to this Netanyahu video of him just lying through his teeth. Like he does. That man, he know how to lie. Actually, why do I not have the video here? Well, okay. In the meantime, in between time, let's do this. Let's play Abby Martin responding to Trump's 20-point plan.
Okay.
Abby Martin, where are you with this deal? Do you believe this deal is workable, that it can actually be the start of lasting peace?
Well, of course, I welcome an end to the unrelenting slaughter and bloodletting for the past 2 years. There's been hundreds of October 7ths that have happened in Gaza. Of course, I welcome the cessation of massacres. The bare minimum demand for the last 2 years has been a ceasefire. So, of course, I welcome that. I think it's a big gamble by Hamas. I mean, this entire negotiations is basically putting Palestinians the barrel of a gun to their head and saying, subject, surrender, or die. First of all, no Palestinians were at the negotiating table. It was Gulf client states speaking on their behalf, Netanyahu and Kushner, who's personally invested in the settlement process. The whole gamble of releasing all the remaining hostages dead and alive within a 72-hour window is logistically insane. And of course, it's basically acting in good faith from the Israeli government, a pathologically lying, serial killing state. Why should we believe anything that they say? They're saying they're not going to release any of the hostages, the 1,700 Palestinians they've been holding after October 7th, many women and children. Aside from that, they're talking about putting in a technocratic governing body by the likes of Tony Blair. I mean, this is basically cementing the subjugation of Palestinians. Peers. And I think the most cartoonish thing of all is the demand for full demilitarization of Hamas and other armed factions. I mean, basically what that is saying is that the precursor and justification for genocide is the notion of armed resistance. Jonathan, let me finish. The notion of armed resistance, which is a legally enshrined right in international law. That is not a justification or precursor for genocide. In what reality are we living in that the victims of a genocide are being asked to make concessions to the people committing genocide against them? If you do not agree at this point, 2 years in, that the state that needs to be demilitarized and de-radicalized, frankly, is not the state committing genocide, then you're part of the problem.
Abby being a high quality white per usual.
Yeah, damn. She got like passionate towards the end there. She was fucking going in. Yeah. I think that's so like important to talk about. And I would also like to point out that Israel kills the negotiators every time it gets close, right? So what? Yeah, exactly. A negotiation at the barrel of a gun. Who is left to talk to? Right? Like they'll go into Qatar and kill them, they don't care. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about every time Hamas said yes and Israel said no, because the continued narrative is they won't let the hostages go, blah, 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 which we have to continue to push up against with the facts, right? Because they will just keep lying. They will just keep lying. And the commitment to the lying is so it is
mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling. Yes. Okay. Who blocked the ceasefires? Let's get into it. Of course, I took the time to do this all in order, and then it put together the daggone slides out of order. January 2024, Hamas refused a 3-phase ceasefire proposal. Netanyahu's response, delusional. January 19th through March. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. I really tried to do this in a very organized way. And it's driving me crazy that it's not. Okay, let's go back. November 2023. November 2023. So August 7th, 2023. November 2023. Hamas agrees to a truce. Israel extends it to 7 days. Then resumes the genocide. You remember this?
Yeah, I remember this. This was peak liberals being bloodthirsty for the death of Palestinians. This was like during the months where everybody was exposing themselves as like racists and murderers.
Yes, this was very all lives matter.
Yeah.
This was also very me being on the internet like, do y'all know? Wait, y'all don't? Do y'all see? And then, folks being like, yeah, we have to drop you from our agency. May 7th, 2024, Hamas accepts the Qatar-Egypt proposal. Israel's response, they invade Rafah 2 days later.
And this was when people were like, this was also when liberals were like, the Biden administration is trying their hardest. It's like, no, they weren't at all. Yeah.
And then they came a few weeks later with the exact same plan and tried to cover it up and say, well, this is Israel's plan. Because now when Israel's presenting it, it's acceptable. So then we go to May 31st, 2024. Biden announces Israel agreed. And then Netanyahu's like, aha, I got you, bitch.
This is to your point about who rules who, right? I mean, who's more powerful, Netanyahu, a person who's been prime minister during 6 different presidencies, or 81-year-old Joe Biden, who can't remember what he had for breakfast? It's kind of.
And then you have the person who is cognizant, who is lucid, which is Kamala Harris, who is married to a Zionist and has been raising money for Zionist organizations since she was 16. So she has been groomed to be in this position to be in support of their interests.
I would not be surprised at all if she was trained at some point by the IDF, because people forget she was a cop at one point,
Say what? Wait, she was an actual cop?
No. But for she wore the flak jacket with the police uniform,
she did a photo shoot.
Yeah.
She called herself the top cop.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. Mid negotiations, August 2024. Netanyahu adds, New demands. Permanent troops in Gaza. However, there already are permanent troops in Gaza. Full border control.
So yeah, this is like this is gaslighting to the ultimate level, because you're just giving demands that no one could ever agree with. Yes. So when there's a proposal, you either kill people or you negotiate in bad faith. And this is even wearing on Trump at this point. You remember he told Netanyahu, "Why are you always so negative?" Like a stressed out stepdad or something. But it's like so this is just a tactic.
The thing about this tactic, though, is that people believe it, right? And people's attention spans are so short that every time something new comes up, it's as if it's in its own vacuum, like it's as if it never happened.
And I think this is why it's really important. I want to make a video about this, but it's really important to keep track of who is taking money as influencers from Israel, because this is kind of part of the Hasbara campaign that's going to come about even stronger now that Israel's doling out money, because of the way that Gen Z consumes information is like through people like me and you, but also the flip side could be like cloak and dagger Zionist propagandists, essentially, that are posing in like Lululemon.
Not posing in Lululemon. So January 19th through March 18th of 2020. Well, let's start. Okay, so January 2025, 15 months of genocide. They reach a deal. This is the top of this year. But then Minister Ben-Gvir says, I repeatedly blocked ceasefire. So they've literally verbalized, I have repeatedly blocked ceasefire deals.
Yes, and this is another thing that they do, is they say what they actually did in Hebrew to their local population, and then they get, I don't know if he said this in English or not, but this is a very common. If you want to know what Israel's going to do, don't pay attention to what they say in English to international audiences, and don't pay attention to what they put out in English, because it's meant to be read by Americans.
Netanyahu was literally in a meeting with Donald Trump and said, yeah, I agree with your plan. And then on the way out, he was still in the White House, did a video speaking in Hebrew saying, nah, I don't agree with
that. That's literally like The Office, where you like look to the camera and like smirk, it's like, what is this, like a multicam sitcom we're watching right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're almost through. January 19th through March 18th, 2025 of this year, there was a temporary January ceasefire. Families exuberantly head back to the north of Gaza. Yep. Okay? They go home to look at their homes, get their belongings. But then the ceasefire collapses on March 18th for no reason other than just because Israel started to actually, because let me say this. During every ceasefire, Israel has continued to kill people. So I want to make that clear.
Right. The bombs never stop.
They may be less, but the quadcopters don't stop. And they still sniper. They still snipe. They still decide where they can go and where they can't go.
And I worry this is going to be a tactic that is introduced into America.
Agreed.
Where like collateral damage is going to be the justification for killing innocent people, because it works so well for Israel. And they're like, I guess the ceasefires are always like, well, they're still legitimate military targets, and it sucks that it killed 7 people when it meant to kill 1, and this is totally done in the United States too.
Yeah, because we're already trained to go along with that. That's what they should have complied is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is so true. It's like, well, if you just listened to what the cops said, you wouldn't have been shot running away. And
I've seen people basically saying that, well, even if folks who are not immigrants get wrapped up in the mayhem, at least they got let go.
Right. Not like the psychological trauma. People forget, I mean, this alligator Alcatraz, like 1,200 people are just gone. No one knows where they are. And we live in a media environment, in a world that is designed to be like drinking reality through a fire hose. Like you can't stop and like take like and digest what you've just witnessed, what you've just saw, because here comes the next horrible thing immediately, So it's not meant to be processed. It's meant to overwhelm you. And I get a lot of, and I'm sure you do too, where people are like, there's so much stuff going on. Why are you so focused on Israel? Right? Like you could be focused on all these different actions, but it's like, well, this is literally the blueprint of what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So you're literally looking at the future. So I think that's why it's so important to see these tactics and continue to call them out, even when it gets like too overwhelming to bear sometimes. Go take a walk, take a deep breath, and then get right back to it. Yeah.
Go look at some animals.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I used to be one of these people that was looking at the U.S. politics coming this way. And okay, so those on the podcast. So I'm looking at it coming from the left, right? So coming from like Democrats, I'm coming into it looking at, okay, we have Democrats and Republicans, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't until Palestine that my focus shifted to looking at U.S. politics from outside of the U.S. and coming in that way. And when you do that, your argument changes because you are no longer looking at the United States and Democrats and Republicans from within.
Right. Yes, that is so true. Like, you're like, why is there a robot dog in the Bronx now? Oh, was that tested 5 years ago on Palestinians? Right. Especially surveillance tech, that's all that stuff is coming. Yeah, that's a great way of looking at the world, is being like, all right, why do we have a military base in that Middle East country? Oh, okay, but here it comes. Yeah.
Yes, because this gives you perspective to the United States. So like when I see people still trying to have these like arguments about Democrats and Republicans, I'm like, your analysis is coming from the wrong trajectory to actually get the solution that I think you want.
Right.
Because I do think the solution they want is for they really want socialism, but they just don't want to say that.
I know. Yeah. It's gotta be like, I don't know, man. We gotta get away from like affording scented candles to like affording like food for your neighbor, but we'll see. I mean, the crash is coming, so maybe people will be a little bit more willing to be militant about their resistance soon. We'll see.
Well, my last question for you is, how do you feel about people doing the I condemn Hamas yesterday? People like Zoran, people like
it seems really like historically inaccurate to a way to look at because October 7th is going to be looked at in the long view of history as the day the world woke up, right? And like a population decided that they had enough of repression. So it's I mean, like it reveals to me how much things are not going to change if we rely on politicians, because they're always focused on optics and they're really, really susceptible to pressure from the donor class, right? Like the people who run the banks, the people who run like the MTA, like anybody who's like, because Zoran is now thinking like, okay, I'm going to be the mayor. So what are these like power groups that I need to like associate with? He's having all these business dinners right now in New York. So yeah, they really were like, it seems like, it's a metaphorical gun, but they were like, yo, make a statement,
He made a statement. They still called him Hamas after.
Yeah.
Like they still my thing is also,
you can't please them, right?
But you can actually please us, though.
I know.
That's the lie. The lie is like, oh, leftists are purity politics. No, it's not. It's just stand on business politics. It's just say what you're about and then be about that, which sometimes gets bloody, which sometimes causes, dissension, like because there's a rigidity in that forces people to have to actually show up or get out. And that is the part that a lot of people are afraid of because they want nuance as like a safety, like, right? Like a trapdoor of safety.
Right. It's only when like I get this all the time when I make fun of like the National Guard and people are like, well, they're people too. It's like, yeah, but they're following orders. Like this is like Nuremberg shit, And it's going to be really fascinating to watch like a democratic socialist be in charge of 35,000 NYPD officers. How is he going to do that? How is he going to like manage systems of oppression? while claiming to like be. So yeah, I mean, it's a revealing and worrying thing that he said that about Hamas, and he said that.
He also said similar things about the Venezuela leader.
Oh yeah, he called him a dictator. Yeah. Yeah, I wish he would just train all of his fire on the people that are actually causing us pain in the world, which is Israel and our leaders.
That seems like a good idea. Yeah.
New Yorkers don't give a fuck about the leader of Venezuela. I mean, maybe some of them do, but it's a lot smaller of a percentage than the people who want people to live with dignity and respect. You know?
And what it does is it dog whistles that whatever efforts are being done by this administration to co-opt and to disrupt and destabilize those nations is legit, right? Like that's what the dog whistle is. And even if he feels that way, shut it
up. I know. Like, just stay in solidarity. You don't have to say you don't have to release a statement on October 7th. It comes off as like, okay, I'll throw a bone to the conservative wing of the Democratic Party, which is the entire party. But
yes. I want to correct myself. I had said that he said that about Venezuela and Colombia, and he said it about Venezuela and Cuba, which is actually even more offensive.
That is terrible. Yeah, that Cuba thing is very worrying. You know, we talked about how Cuba is like modeling behavior despite all of these sanctions, right? It should be celebrated what they're capable of.
Well, this is the last thing I'll ask you, because people say, so then what? We're supposed to vote for Cuomo?
Right. All right. So, and I think we probably disagree on this. But I do think that you probably should vote for Zoran instead.
Why would I disagree with that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I guess like my read of it is like you want like a revolution from the bottom up, right? Which I think I do too.
There's still going to have to be a vote.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I do think like Zoran has still said some things that I never expected to hear in my lifetime, which is that Israel doesn't have a right to exist as a Jewish supremacist state. That is amazing to hear from a human being that is going to be a leader. And I do think that Cuomo would be objectively horrible. So like stopping that is a small win, and you take the small wins along the way towards the big win, which is socialism in the United States.
So this is what I'll say. I don't endorse candidates.
Right.
How I address things is from an education base. And ultimately, when we have candidates running for office, we should be educated about their policies, about the way that they're showing up, because we have to know what to make demands of, right? We have to know ways in which they're moving so that our organizations can know how to make those demands. So when people want to say, like, don't say this about Zoran, et cetera, I was like, no, I have to say this because we have to know where this person stands to know where we move. We have to be able to say that. I also will say that you should vote for whoever you think is your best shot at life.
Yeah, for real. And
that's who you should vote for. And the last thing I'll say, and then you got it, is I do believe that one very important aspect about Zoran is he's young enough
to move,
to be radicalized. He's young enough. Listen, I've always been a radical person, but I didn't get like turned up at this level until I was 42.
Yeah, it took huge events for it to happen. COVID, October 7th, like all these things move you closer and closer to what I would consider the truth.
Yes.
But I think, a direct action and civil disobedience doesn't work with people holding nightsticks and men like Cuomo, right? So if if there is a moral center to Zoran, which I think there is, and there isn't with Cuomo, I think having that person be in control of the New York City budget is a good thing.
There you have it, y'all. All right. Leftists agreeing. I can't believe that. I'm not as offended as when I walked into my homegirl's house on October 10th, and her boyfriend was like, so are we going to talk about Israel? And I was like, Yes. And he was like, well, I know you're going to be on their side.
Whoa. Yeah. Damn.
And it was at that moment that Amanda knew these were not going to be her friends much longer.
Yeah.
And they actually are not, because she ended up choosing the business over holding her friend down. And she wouldn't have even had to forsake any of her life. But it was just that it was a time where you really saw people choose willful ignorance and also like separate themselves.
I hear that all the time, where it took until seeing starving Palestinians, like when they woke up, because I guess they were like, okay, this is morally or this is like optically acceptable for me to show moral outrage about. It was like, this has been happening for 2 years.
Get it together. Davidson, where can people see you on stage?
I have a very great show coming up called Stand Up Against Billionaires on November 18th with Planet Over Profit. So this is a direct action organization that gets up in politicians' faces, up in people trying to steal Native American lands' faces, and tries to.
What was the Native American folks in Long Island?
The Shinnecock. Yeah.
Shinnecock? There was a member of the Shinnecock tribe at the AmandaLand Summit, and I was like, I only know about you because of Davidson.
Yeah,
people
love to see people speaking truth to power, and that's what this organization does. It's a great lineup for a great cause. Amanda, I'm going to force you to come out of retirement for stand up someday. I'm going to get you on one of these shows, or I'm not forced, but beg and plead you to come out of retirement. I get you on one of these shows.
If I were in town, I would do it, but I will be on the road peddling my wares.
Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah, we'll do a lot more of these shows, but yeah, Littlefield on November.
Information about it.
Sorry again.
Where can people get information about it?
In my Instagram bio at Davidson Boswell.
Okay, we'll keep going with the information.
And then and then you can see me. I don't know. Just follow my Instagram. I perform all the time, so yeah, that's the best way to do it.
So that's the beauty of being in New York. In LA, if you get on stage twice in the week,
right, you're doing good.
You're doing good.
Oh yeah, and I'm doing the roast of Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams on the 17th this month at Philo in Brooklyn. Come out to that. I've written some jokes. Oh man, it's gonna be so much fun. Eric Adams is currently in Albania doing some shit. So
Stop it. What are you talking about?
I don't know. It was so fun. I'll send you the reel.
That's what he's doing. He's
like, I'm gonna go strengthen economic ties with Albania. And his son is an aspiring rapper and was like in an Albanian music competition in 2022. So I think he's out there trying to promote his son's rap career. This is our mayor, right now. So
why is the mayor an SNL sketch? Like,
I know.
Yeah. Well, y'all go check out Davidson Boswell, and I'm really hoping that there's going to be like a coalition of stand-ups that are about it on this side of things, because we've seen how they put one together for the right. So we need to get these stand-ups on the left to be talking. And I keep seeing people say, like, comedy is so important to the movement, and Mark Maron, etc. Then get it together.
Right. Totally. Yes. Like, let's organize.
Just
right organized. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Davidson, for always being so generous with your time and your knowledge. And y'all go to Davidson Boswell's Instagram and make sure you are generous with your time and your money and support what he's doing.
All right.
Amanda.